Hello everyone, welcome to Gallery Teachers. My name is Milica Vukadin, and today I will discuss a very interesting topic. I will show you how can you teach young learners through storytelling. Let's start. Today, we're going to be discussing the benefits of storytelling, roles of the learners and the teacher, scaffolded lesson design, planning, pre-teaching content, dramatization, post-dramatization, lesson plan, full lesson plan analysis, and a few do's and don'ts. Let's give it a go and let's start. First of all, my first question is, what are the benefits of using stories in the young learner classroom? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about it, and then we will check the answers. Are you ready? Let's see. Stories present an authentic form of communication. That means they present situations as they happen in actual life. They're not created as a part of a textbook. They're not suited to anybody's learning level. So they present an authentic form of English language. They introduce new cultures, which is very important. Interculturalism is one of the most important 21st century skills. They also teach young learners in an entertaining way. Of course, all of the books that we use are also visual, so we have pictures, and that's more entertaining than just reading something without pictures. They develop critical thinking skills by asking questions along the way as you dramatize. They develop reading habits and promote early literacy, which is very important because if we don't promote literacy in an early level, we're going to have children who are not interested into reading. How many did you guess? Let me know in the live workshop. Now, let's discuss two things. What are the teachers and the students' roles in storytelling? The teacher's role is to lead, moderate, create collaborative activities, develop pre-teaching activities, be an actor, and enjoy. So, you need to lead your students, not teach them frontally and tell them what to do. So you are their moderator, not a presenter. The learner's role is to participate, practice, do some expressive language input, aka speak, move, listen, ask questions, answer questions, and enjoy. Now, I just demonstrated and I moved my body a little bit. So this thing can definitely help you, these kind of movements, to attract learners' attention. Now that we've discussed these basics, let's start with the scaffolded design of a storytelling lesson. Before you start, of course, you need to do some pre-teaching. Pre-teaching is very important, and it's not only about vocabulary. It's about grammar, language functions, culture, and everything that is related to this book. There may be different aspects such as emotion, environmental education. Basically, it depends on the book. As I showed this one, the aspect that we have here is environmental education. In other books, you're going to have some important topics. Here are some examples of how can you organize this target language to just help your organization. This is related to animals and daily activities. And this is an imaginary example. So, in the vocabulary, you can include names of animals or action verbs. So by moving the body and of course showing puppets or any kind of flashcards that you have. So always make sure to have your cart with animal flashcards nearby, and always remember to keep your teacher props close. Language functions to expressibility and describe the language, what animals can do. So now you're going to mimic animals. You're going to move. You're going to discuss what can they do? What can they how they move, how do they look like, and everything related to these animals. When you come to the grammar structures, for example, you're going to have the present simple tense because you're doing this with very young learners or young learners. You can discuss verb to be, for example, first person singular, include can, maybe positive or interrogative forms. This is just a brainstorm, of course. If you're going to include some grammar, it needs to be communicative. So you cannot include some explicit grammar teaching. So please avoid explicit grammar teaching with young learners. Now, we discussed the scaffolded design, and I showed you how can you organize your target language. Let's continue to the storytelling plan steps. We start from pre-teaching content, go to dramatization, continue with practice, finish off with assessment, and then in the end do a follow-up. Let's see how all of these individual steps function. In the pre-teaching content, we have a lot of things, literally a lot of things. And one of my most favorite parts is actually pre-teaching. Let's see what do we fit in the pre-teaching and what do we do there. We capture students' attention. A way to capture their attention, of course, as I showed you, is using puppets, various kinds of puppets, flashcards, and of course, dressing up. For example, in a book with a zoo, I dressed up in green as a snake. In a book related to pirates, I dressed up as a pirate. So anything that captures students' attention is the way to go. Then you should connect to prior knowledge and experiences. So there's always something that your students already know. Review language they have learned, but make it interactive. Don't give them any kind of worksheets or anything, any gap fills or similar things. Try to make it communicative. Now, you're going to do some pre-teaching, okay? If necessary, of course, you're going to have some vocabulary and expressions because, of course, it's impossible for your learners to know everything in this book. Again, this should be done in this pre-teaching part, but again, it should be very contextual. For example, how do I do it? We play various games. We do matching games with flashcards. We do a lot of TPR, which means total physical response. We move our bodies. And we play any kind of games with music. And this also helps us learn new vocabulary. Ask students to predict what will happen. When I observed many classes, I noticed that we just don't do prediction enough. So every time before you start, show them the cover of the book and ask them, what do you think happens in this book? Take a look at the character. Take a look at the cover. Let's guess. Of course, another thing that I do, but I don't have this here, is actually show them the picture of the author and the illustrator, which I think is really important because we usually don't pay attention enough to the author and the illustrator. And that's not very nice because in picture books, we need to recognize the importance of the illustrator as well. Then give them a purpose for listening. Give them listening questions. How can you do this? For example, tell them, if you have a very large class, you can separate it into groups. And you can tell them, I want this group, or you are going to listen and tell me all of the names of the people that appear in the book. You are, for example, going to tell me the activities, their actions. What are they going to do first? What are they going to do next? What are they going to do last? So give them a listening task. Okay, listening task before they even start dramatizing, before you start dramatizing. Okay, this definitely depends on what kind of book do you have. Nobody can actually tell you what specific listening tasks to give. It can be anything, whatever you want that's crucial to the story. In the pre-teaching, we also use theatrics such as gestures, body movement, dramatic pauses, character voices, facial expressions, speaking slowly and clearly. So don't hurry when you're dramatizing. Your goal is not to finish quickly. Your goal is to engage the learners. And then you also are going to use this in the dramatization part. You have to continue with props, visuals. For examples, any kind of realia, masks, costumes, hand or finger puppets, interactive slides or storyboard. Hand or finger puppets can be, you don't have to purchase them online, but here are mine and I've had them for such a long time and I love them. For example, this is one animal set that I use for animal books with animal storytelling, and they're amazing because the learners focus on your fingers. Okay. And everything that we shared so far can be used online and offline. So as you watch, just try to think, how can you do this online and how can you do it offline? It's completely the same. All of the methods can be used both offline and online, including all of the activities that we show. Masks are something that I really like using, and I'm going to show you a few masks that I made with my students. And these masks are amazing. Why? Oops, let me just take this before it collapses. Pardon me. I'm just going to take a few of them. For example, here are some masks that the students did by themselves. And this is how we also include them and do some crafting. So have them make their own masks for role play. Why not? You're not in a hurry. You're here to enjoy and have some fun. Of course, you're going to also use some digital tools if you want. And I'm going to show you examples later in the lesson plan analysis. Script. So you're going to use illustrations from the book. Okay. You're going to integrate songs. And you're going to repeat places for storytelling questions and predictions. Let me show you this, how to do this practically. For example, as you read, always make sure that the book, if you're doing it online, let me just set it up, okay, so that my learners can see it. So make sure that I see the pages as much as I can, online and offline as well. Hold it like this. If you have problems holding it, you can ask a student to assist you. This also gives them a lot of motivation to participate. Don't hurry. Read it. As you read, you can follow with a finger. Of course, some students will even follow you because some of them can probably read. Maybe some don't. It all depends on the age of the young learners you're teaching. Now, every time you read something, stop and ask them questions. Let's see. Let's do a test. One morning, things weren't quite as they should be. Greta stepped. Let's step, everybody. Out into her garden, and there, huddled. Present, do verbs. Okay, demonstrate. Huddled together in the shadows of the tree. Look, look. We're all the animals of the forest. Let's name them. What is this? This is an owl. What is the big one? This is a wolf. So see, we're also doing some sounds here. Okay. Stop as you read and ask them any kind of questions. Dramatization should last for some time. Take a look at Greta here. What is her facial expression? Oh, pardon me. How does she feel? Do you think that she's scared? And then show scared, shocked, or she's sad. So show and demonstrate with your body. Use illustrations as much as you can. They're not there just to be pretty. They're there to be used as a reading tool. So don't forget to demonstrate. Use all of your tools that you already have in the book. Of course, we stepped into dramatization. And it's not only reading, as I just said. Let's see some more ideas. Okay. Questions and answer, of course, discussing the story, which I just showed you. Repetition. Repeating keywords and phrases to enhance retention. This is something that you usually do with words that you, for example, that are new, or the words that are maybe hard to pronounce, because we're teaching English to non-native children, and that is a very important thing to remember. For example, let's do it for this one. They chopped down trees to build homes. Chopped. Chopped. Chop, 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 chop. Let's chop, everybody. Chop, chop, chop. Now we can do a chant. Chop, chop, chop. What else? Let's repeat some keywords. They chopped down more trees and built bigger homes. Now they're chopping some more. Get up and chop. Chop, 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 chop. After this book, they're definitely going to know what is chopping, right? So you can see the repeating definitely works and enhances retention. Total physical response. As you can see, I'm constantly moving. You can even say I'm fidgeting in the chair, but this is what you need to do as a teacher who teaches young learners. So you need to be active. Everything that you see, dramatize. My advice is, when you start, you will have to practice. As you get better, be natural. You will get more natural. What does it mean? At this point, I can just take a book without even reading it and dramatize it. You need to go with the flow. Don't sit at home and prepare and think about what you're going to do. Why? Because the children may surprise you. Many times I've over-prepared and the children just did something so amazing that I completely forgot what was my plan and what was I supposed to do, for example, for protesting. The children can surprise you when you least expect it. So don't overplan. Storytelling needs to be organic. It needs to be natural. Of course, another thing in the dramatization is to create your own ending. And now we're kind of connecting to post-dramatization activity. You can use this as soon as you finish talking and tell them, let's see. Let's see how it ended. Okay, let's see. In the end, the forest became more beautiful than I could ever have imagined. But can we think about a different ending? Close your eyes. Close your eyes, everyone, and let's think. Could anything else have happened in the end? Who wants to tell me? And you will see how many fun ideas they can get there. I will share one example. We did a book that I can't quite catch here. Pardon me, I'm so sorry. It's called Class 2 at the Zoo. And in this book, a child saves a whole class from an anaconda in the zoo. And the task was to just make an alternative ending. And their endings were speechless, really. One of the students celebrated birthday. So Anaconda loved the class. They celebrated Anaconda's birthday. In another story, teacher got married to the anaconda, and Anaconda loved the class. In the one other story, we actually had, pardon me, the character is called Sonic. Sonic came and Sonic saved the class from the anaconda. So their imagination is endless. If you have younger children, they don't have to talk. You can continue this activity by giving them a task to draw. But now, before we go to some more activities, I want to show you a few more examples with dramatization in a video from the class. And you will see a few things that happened pretty organically. And this is only to support my claim that a lot of things will happen very naturally and you can reuse them later to plan your dramatization. Ivana is going to help me. First of all, you have flip, and flap. Flip and flap. I want you to remember what is the flip and what is the flap. See, I just gave them a task and I just showed them. You have the flip and the flap and the flip and the flap. And I want you to remember what's the flip and what's the flap. And then we're going to describe it. And Ivana, this amazing girl, she wanted to help me. How can she help me? She's just going to do flipping and flapping. But at some point, she's just going to start reading randomly, which is amazing. So we're going to switch roles without any kind of special instructions, completely naturally. She takes the role and starts reading to the class. Let's find this part. I'm doing what I always do. Let's read the letter. Dear, okay, first, this, sorry. Can we thank you. Wall Street Acton, dear Mother Goose. What can I do? Miss Muffet. And what to eat? Kinda. Do you have a better solution?
Well, yeah.
Can you tell me?
Sit inside on a table. With a table.
On a table and a chair, right? So as you can see, some questioning, critical thinking. Do you have a better solution? This was book connected, I think, to yes, Dear Mother Goose. So we had a lot of nursery rhymes inside, and we had to find a solution for their problems. Another thing you can see in the background is the TV, and we have background music playing all the time to enhance motivation. So whenever you have a chance to do some storytelling, play some music in the background, and also if you do some crafting later, play some music there as well. And then we have another girl wanting to join. Yes. So what happened? You can thank you. That's enough. What happened? And you can hear her read. She is very silent, but again, this was such an amazing storytelling session that motivated me to start using this activity more and more. And you can see other children joining in. And as you can see, a lot of them are just talking, moving, and just trying to see what's happening and giving their ideas. So don't present, include them, bring them in the book. Have them sit as close to you as possible. You can see some kids were lying on the floor and they were listening to me. Usually boys do that. So don't be desperate if boys take more time to get engaged. Just keep on and ask them questions. Now, we are in the post-dramatization, which is one of my favorite parts. We do practice, application, assessment, and follow-up. A lot of things happen in the post-dramatization part. Here, you're going to check predictions. If you ask them to predict what is the topic, then you're going to say, who was right? Let's see. You predicted this was about nature. Was it correct? Yes, so. Another thing that I like, games, retelling, start and stop. Retell the story and have students stop you when you hear a mistake. I did this live, I did this online as well, and it was amazing. I had this activity with a class from India after storytelling, and they were so excited because why? They can say, stop to the teacher. The teacher made a mistake. Oh my God. I get to correct the teacher. That's fun, right? Students like to win. Everybody likes winning. Sequencing the events of the story. As you can see here, you have some sequencing where I just copy pasted the pages, threw them like this on the floor. They were flying everywhere. The children were ecstatic because the teacher is throwing papers. And they just order them and sequence them. You can do this online by using apps such as WordWall or any kind of apps that give you the opportunity to order. And I'm going to show you that as well. Let's see a few more ideas. Story mapping, story analysis. If they're older, you can map it and you can analyze the story. You can make your own mini books. I love including crafting, and this has always been really, really fun for everybody. Creating a personalized story with their own characters is also connected to mini books. So let them change the character. For example, sometimes I let them change supporting characters. Sometimes I'll let them change the main character so they become the main character, which is again very motivating. They are making a parallel story. What would happen in an alternate universe? In an alternate universe, for example, Greta is the evil one and everybody around her is good. So they have to fight her, not the other way around. Then, if you have time, of course, try to include projects. I'm going to show you in a few minutes how does a project look like. And of course, play performance. Performing the actions from the story as the teacher reads. How do we do it? We go back at the end to assess. This is an assessment activity. I'm going to dramatize from top to bottom, and I'm going to ask them to be actors. So I'm just going to dramatize, and I'm going to highlight some words and expect them to do something. Let's go back to the same page. One morning, things weren't, and now they're going to show, just like I did, weren't quite as they should be. Greta stepped step, and they start stepping. Huddled together, and they show. So accentuate the words that you want your students to dramatize, and then they will be even more active. Now, to finish off, let's go to a full lesson plan example. I'm going to scroll through this post on my website and explain step by step what did we do and how it relates to the step that I shared in the presentation. The book is called Class 2 at the Zoo by Julia Jarman, illustrated by Lynn Chapman. I honestly hope I pronounced them well. If I'm not, I'm really, really sorry. So let's start. In this workshop, we started, of course, as I said, by brainstorming the topic based on the book. Here is the cover of the book. Then we continued with some classroom preparation and decoration. Why? Because it relaxes students and motivates them to learn. We played some relaxing jungle music and we put some decoration to just make it more appealing. For the session, I used flashcards, animal toys, wooden blocks, glue, scissors, printable materials, literally everything. So I used a lot of things. I have to mention that this workshop lasts for 2 hours, so we have a lot of time to go through things. Usually you would do this as a small project, and it would take you at least 2 or 3 classes, depending on your class. Since this is a small class, we can do it in one take. Now, we are starting with icebreakers in a rotation station. Why do I call it rotation station? Because I have multiple things around and children are going around and just playing with every station by themselves. This is our pre-teaching stage. Now, before we even started, we played a game with an animal dice, a sponge animal dice, where the kids needed to name the animal, act like the animal, sound like the animal. As you can see, they were really thrilled and very enthusiastic with this animal dice. So we have this concept of moving. You can also do the same thing online, completely the same. You're only going to maybe do an online dice, or you can just throw it in your room and they can do it on Zoom or any other tool you're using. The concept is completely the same, and this lesson can be done completely the same online. At the end of the post, I'm going to show you a digital material going with this lesson. Pre-teaching lasts for at least 15 minutes. It's in the pre-teaching section. Now we have multiple things here, from memory games to reviewing animals. And first we started with grouping. So we are slow, we are fast. They had to group the animals into 2 separate groups. We had some, as you can see, some flashcards and some toys. So it all depends on the props that you have. It doesn't have to be perfect, remember. After that, we had another grouping to separate the zoo animals and the farm animals. So basically, all of these groupings are on a table in a circle, and the children go from one piece to another in a circle. This is why I call it a rotation station. Then we have another grouping where we are sorting the animals in animal species, in mammals, reptiles, and birds. After that, the younger ones, because it's a mixed group, are sorting them according to skin, fur, and pattern. The final one is regarding the habitat. So they're sorting them in various habitats. Now we're going to dramatization. This one lasted for at least 30 minutes and it was really, really engaging. In this dramatization, they had a TPR task. They had to listen for the animals and make a sound and a movement. So their other task, as it says here, was to respond to my questions and describe the pages. So I told them I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask you to describe and answer questions, so be ready to answer. And this group had more boys, which was also a little bit difficult to handle. But when you have more boys, you have to have more activities. Sometimes they tend to be more lively. We had 2 songs. One is the natural jungle sounds, and the second one is tribal music. And the children were allowed to select, to always give them a choice. And I love giving them choices because it motivates them. So it's their decision. What are we going to listen while we dramatize? Of course, as you can see me on my knees here, that's not something out of the ordinary. As the book allows movement, you should always move with a book. And this one allowed a lot of movement. And you can see one of our youngest students practically getting into my face because he was really interested. So it definitely attracts children if you get on the same eye level as them if they're younger. So don't be afraid to move around, get a little dirty in your classroom. Next, after the dramatization, we had some post-dramatization activities. There was about 20 minutes for this, or even more. I just really cannot say for sure at the moment. So we had the discussion first. Then we made a list of all of the rhyming words. Then we looked for examples of alliteration, like koala kissing a kangaroo. And then we did a little chanting as well. Koala kissing a kangaroo, which of course kids like to slap things and they like to slap the table. So there was no problem there. They liked the alliteration activities. Then we had two additional ones, story sequencing and making your own ending. This activity is one of that I really like. Find all the words that something. So this helps them group the words and just put them into context. This was an additional activity that we didn't finish, but it was related to finding all the words that anaconda uses to eat the children. As you can see here, this was my anaconda, and you can see me wearing green, so I was actually the anaconda. That was the point of my of my dress. Now, let's see. Everyone got a chance to draw their ending. Okay, and here are some endings that we had, just as I explained before. So we had birthday for the anaconda, we had Sonic defeating, and it was really, really fun. While they did it, I went around and just asked them, what are you doing? What is happening on your drawing? So elicit a little bit of language while they are immersed in drawing, but not too much. Enough so that they don't get distracted. They can't multitask so much. If you have older kids, they should write if they don't want to do drawing. Then we sequence the story, and I copy-pasted all of the papers from the book and threw them everywhere to get their attention because they were getting tired and they were really, really engaged after this. So don't be afraid to do something unexpected and something silly. They had a task to sequence the story, and as you can see, they did it by themselves, collaboratively. That was amazing. And I also didn't allow them to take a look at the book again. So they did it collaboratively by using their memory, which was really amazing. One of the final activities included rhyming lists. So as you can see, they also did it together. And they had to zoo, giraffe laugh, late Kate, together weather. That one was hard. Finally, since they selected an activity that was digital, I let them select the final activity. And then they made a story. So now we have a little bit of writing and reading. So as you can see, in this storytelling project, we basically have all of the activities. Some of them are short, some of them are long, all depending on their attention, and they change quickly. They're very engaging. And this is why it's not boring to follow the lesson. They should put certain words such as adjectives, adverbs, animals, sounds, and then we're getting a silly story and they are reading it. So everybody read one sentence, I think. This is how we did it. Then we went to the workshop section. So this was the language one and the storytelling one. Now the workshop was reserved for making the animal masks, for dramatizing, and just chatting. So they had to select their own animal. They had some recyclables. They had some papers there. And they had to make their own animal mask. These are the masks that they actually showed you recently, these are their masks. They were adorable. And by the way, we still reuse them sometimes. So they are not just a one-time craft. Finally, we dramatized. How did we dramatize? How did we dramatize it? Well, I read the book, and as I was dramatizing, they were listening for their animals, repeating some words, acting like their animals, and basically, it was amazing. There were no pictures because everybody was acting and there was no one to take a picture, but it was definitely very lively and it was very, very active, very active. And the final activity, a cool down activity after this activity that was very extremely active, was a STEM activity. So I gave them a lot of recyclables and I gave them a lot of things that I brought, and their task was to build a zoo habitat. So now they took the flashcards, took the toys, took the papers, and they just tried to make the habitat and follow a little bit of ideas from the book. So what are the animals doing? What do they need? And it was an intercurricular discussion, which is something I really like to include. I'll show you the lesson material to finish off. Now, this is a completely digital material that follows the first material that you saw. As you can see, they have the vocabulary just as we did in the live class, face-to-face one. It can be used digitally. And this is basically a review. Now we have some TPR, demonstration of verbs, again, with sounds, and then a little quiz. Which activity does the audio mention? And then you have to answer. Try again. That one's good. Then we have 3 or 4 questions in the quiz. And after that, we have another activity, matching, just like we did in the live class, in the face-to-face one, pardon me. So we have a monkey and another monkey. Now, let's be animals. The same activity, only adapted to be done online. So as you can see, it's completely adapted, almost all the activities. Finally, here's another one that's completely the same like in the face-to-face classroom, and they should group the animals based on their habitat. Again, they should group them based on their speed. And now we have the discussion, and we have the discussion questions that we used. And then we are going to rhyming words, which is again digital. And as you notice, every page has an instruction in Serbian and English. So basically, these activities can be done in homeschooling and if a child misses the online class or the face-to-face class. Now we have sequencing. They should sequence the pictures. And now, since they didn't have a lesson together, they should draw their own ending in this table, and this is called an AWW board. Now, again, these are the masks, and they can print them out if they're learning at home. And then they have an additional activities that we did. For example, rewrite a story from Anaconda's point of view, make a jungle rhythm with objects from your house. So there are some things that you can do at home very easily. And then the steps, final thing for the zoo. And in this button, you have all of the things that you need to do. Collect this, build a zoo, build a bridge, build a doorway for giraffes. So it's definitely interesting to complete it. Now, to finish off, let's discuss some do's and don'ts of storytelling. Do. Include as much collaboration as you can and let the children dramatize with you. Don't present and dramatize by yourself without engaging learners and asking any questions. So don't forget these 2 most important things when it comes to storytelling. Last but not least, let's review some steps. We start from pre-teaching the content. Then we go to dramatization. After that, we go to practice, assessment, and follow-up. To remind you, follow-up is connected to connecting to the next lesson. How do I do a follow-up in storytelling? I let the children select their next book. In my case, it doesn't really matter what lesson plan I'm going to make. Why? It just doesn't. I have a whole library of books, and when I let them select the book for the next session, they're much, much more engaged. What do I consider the most challenging in teaching young learners is actually their attention span or losing attention very quickly. As you know, young learners have a very short attention span. They stop listening really quickly if they don't find the activity attractive enough. How can you overcome this? Here is my suggestion. Keep the activities short, keep the activities changing quickly, and keep the activities dynamic. So they need to be short enough to grab their attention. They need to change very quickly. And they also need to be dynamic themselves. Young learners need to do something. They need to be active learners. They cannot just passively listen to you. Well, the answer is pretty simple, but also a little bit unusual. You need to be motivated yourself. If you're not motivated yourself, the learners will see it quickly and they will also stop being motivated. And this is something very important when you are in early childhood education. You need to act a lot. You need to dramatize. And you need to remember the teachers are actors. In order to keep young learners motivated, you need to engage them and you need to be motivated yourself. If you feel comfortable in your lesson, throughout the lesson, they will listen to you and there will be no problems with motivation. These are some things that we're also going to discuss in the presentation related to teaching young learners, because we will discuss dramatization and we will share a lot of bite-sized small activities to promote attention and motivation in young learners. See you in the live workshop. Bye from Gallery Teachers.